have extensively debated on this bill, which I fully support. Therefore, I will not belabor to repeat some of the arguments already advanced before the floor of this House. In this regard, my focus of debate will be as follows. Part 11, local government, system of government. Mr. Speaker, repeal and replacement of Article 153. Article 153 of the Constitution provides that a council shall consist of, among others, not more than 3 chiefs, representing chiefs in the district elected by the chiefs in the district. Mr. Speaker, currently, Article 153 of the Constitution does not provide any option of chiefs to be represented in a council by chiefs' representatives. Now, in some regions of our country, chiefs do not sit and debate in meetings with members of the public because it is against customs and traditions applicable to them, and we have chiefs who sit in more than one council, thereby denying them the opportunity to participate in matters regarding the welfare of communities in a local authority. Mr. Speaker, I therefore support the proposed amendment of the Constitution by the repeal of Article 153 and the substitution therefore to include not more than 3 chiefs or chiefs representatives in the district elected by the chiefs in the district, except that where a district has 3 or fewer members of number of chiefs, each chief may nominate a representative. The proposed repeal and replacement of Article 153 is highlighted in detail in paragraph 52 of the bill. Part 12, Chieftaincy and House of Chiefs, repeal and replacement of Article 165. Mr. Speaker, the provision in the Constitution has made the institution of chieftaincy to be self-regulatory. The article provides that, and I quote 165(2), Parliament shall not enact legislation which A, confers on a person or authority the right to recognize or withdraw the recognition of a chief, or B, derogates from the honor and dignity of the institution of chieftaincy. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, the institution of chieftaincy is a very important part of governance that has existed from pre-colonial time, long before modern governance, and successive governments have ruled through this very important institution. Thus, the peace and tranquility we are enjoying currently is as a result of the good governance provided by the chiefs. Mr. Speaker, the current Article 165 has been a subject of various interpretations, with a number of chiefdoms indicating that they exist based on their own culture, customs, and traditions. The House may wish to note that an institution which is self-regulatory implies that there are no checks and balances on that institution, and it has been left to its own devices. In the meantime, public financial resources are expanded on the institution of chieftaincy, such as chiefs' welfare and resolution of succession disputes. Further, Article 165, in its current form, has been interpreted by some sections of our society to mean that they can establish their own new chiefdoms separate from the existing ones. In addition, some have been demanding for the resuscitation of chiefdoms which were abolished by the colonial government for various reasons. Mr. Speaker, the creation of new chiefdoms, resuscitation of abolished chiefdoms, and calls for splitting of existing chiefdoms has the potential to bring about instability in chiefdoms in particular, and the whole country in general, because that entails redefining the existing chiefdom boundary maps. The current Article 165 has also seen an increase in the number of succession disputes, which has brought about instability in some chiefdoms and ultimately adversely affected development. It is against this background that I consider it imperative that the institution of chieftaincy is regulated in one way or the other, lest it goes into extinction. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I want to emphasize that the institution of chieftaincy in Zambia should remain relevant in the modern governance system, as well as work towards meeting the aspirations and needs of the people in chiefdoms. This is in view of the fact that the institution of chieftaincy exists within the context of the state. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable Member for Chembe.
Mr. Speaker, today we come to this House to conclude a long journey upon which we have been traversing for a while. Mr. Speaker, this journey has demonstrated the nature of society that we are creating through the political systems that we have built. And it has demonstrated the strength, weaknesses, and dangers that the system that we have built has put on the heads of our people. Today, we have come here to deal with a situation, Mr. Speaker, where innuendos have been left with the freedom to rule and to determine opinion and direction of a country. This we must move away from. I therefore want to debate this bill, Mr. Speaker, on the question, Bill 10, what is wrong? When this bill was brought to the House, Mr. Speaker, indeed there were a number of controversial issues. And because this bill was a bill like any other, it has been taken through the normal parliamentary lawmaking process, which includes the committee and interaction with the public. The committee, Mr. Speaker, select committee that you composed, called and sat with witnesses in 26 meetings, unprecedented. When normally a select committee would meet for 10 days, we sat for 26. Mr. Speaker, all the issues of contention in the original bill were addressed by the select committee, have been read and examined by Cabinet, and Cabinet has responded through Gazette Notice number 534 of 12th June 2020. Mr. Speaker, controversial issues such as amendment of Article 63 to remove Parliament from approving debt and international agreements have been removed through Gazette Notice earlier referred to. Clause 30, which wanted to create a coalition government, has been removed. Clause 36, Clause 38 rather, which sought to reintroduce the position of deputy minister, was removed. Clause 67, which sought to remove, to repeal Article number 188 to remove the requirement to keep a retired employee on the payroll until all terminal benefits have been paid, has been removed. And the government of the people of the Republic has responded positively. Clause 71, which sought to amend Article 213 by redefining the functions of Bank of Zambia, has been removed. Those were the issues upon which there were contention. Those were the issues upon which we differed. And this government has responded in accordance with the wishes of the people. Where then is the issue, Mr. Speaker? Where is the question? When people tell me Bill 10 is a bad bill, a bill is simply a container. You have to tell me what it is in that bill that you are opposed to so that it can be addressed through the normal parliamentary process. This is how we make laws in this country. This is how we have always made laws. Unless you want to introduce new draconian ways of making laws in your bedroom, there is no space in this republic to make laws in that manner. We make laws on the floor of this house, and this is why our people sent us here. Mr. Speaker, This bill has introduced a revolutionary system of representation of our people. Our women will be represented. Our youth will be represented. Our people with disabilities will be directly represented in this House. We had people posturing yesterday, Mr. Speaker, to speak on behalf of the
Honorable
youth.
member, time up.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member for Chifunabuli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the voice of Chifunabuli an opportunity to debate the bill. Mr. Speaker, right from the outset, I wish to make two important clarifications. Clarification number one has to do with building consensus. I think this has been one of the most contentious issues, especially from the perspective of the civil societies. They have actually misled the people of Zambia regarding the building of consensus around the constitution-making process. Mr. Speaker, what the people of Zambia need to know is that there is no end point to building consensus other than the point at which the president will assent to the bill. Therefore, the process of consensus building will continue until the president assents to the bill. And that is the bottom line. Secondly, the people of Zambia must know that the bill we are considering today is the original bill, not any other bill. It's the Bill 10, 2019. And we are not going to misinform the people of Zambia by saying that some of the clauses have been removed. None of the clauses have been removed. But we are basically just following the process of screening the bill. And you started it yourself, Mr. Speaker, by appointing a select committee, which select committee solicited input from committed Zambians, from patriotic Zambians. And this is how come they came up with a report, which has evidence-based recommendations. And I think that is where serious problems have emerged from. People cannot believe that Parliament can come up with such serious recommendations. I think we must pat ourselves on the back. And this is why the position of the government has been described to be a sinful position. Because there is an issue of mistrust. People have been arguing to say, will the government really consider these concerns and recommendations that came from serious Zambian stakeholders? And the government assured the people of Zambia that indeed those progressive recommendations will be taken on board. To try and allay those mistrusts, the government took a step, Mr. Speaker, to try and push some of the intentions into a gazette notice, which gazette notice was published on 12th June. And that is another sin the PF government has committed, because they have demonstrated high-level transparency, which has never been precedented before, in an effort to allay the fears of mistrust. And this is where Zambians really need to be careful and know who to trust. Because some sections of society of Zambia are saying the move taken by the Minister of Justice was an illegal move. He shouldn't have actually publicized that in the gazette notice. But again, the people of Zambia are asking which law has been breached. And we are still waiting for answers to the opponents of Bill 10. We are waiting for those answers. And Mr. Speaker, this culture of misinformation is what is likely to polarize this nation if we are not careful. Because most people are not privy to the contents of Bill 10. They are not even privy to the contents of the Select Committee report. They are not even privy to the contents of the Gazette notice of 12th June, which was advanced by the Secretary to Cabinet. And people are trying to take advantage of that to further mislead the people of Zambia. And we are saying no to that. In essence, Mr. Speaker, what the Minister of Justice did during the previous sitting to try and preempt the debate and assure the people of Zambia that indeed this government, the patriotic government, is going to take into consideration all the concerns that they had raised, especially those concerns which were addressed in the parliamentary
Your
select.
time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I am so happy today to contribute on this progressive bill. And allow me, Mr. Speaker, to thank the President, His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, for being very transparent on this matter. Mr. Speaker, the President has been accused of a lot of issues on this bill. And today I was listening to one president of a political party, Dr. Nevas Mumba. He was saying, by members of
Honorable
Parliament,
Member for Chitambo. Now our tradition is to avoid referring to people who will not be able to respond to whatever you are saying.
thank you for that guidance, Mr. Speaker. Some president was talking today, addressing the media, that by allowing Bill 10 to pass, we are prolonging the staying of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu into State House. The problem which I have is that whether there is Bill 10 or there is no Bill 10, President Edgar Lungu will still be in State House for another 5 years. Yeah. And they should stop misleading Zambians that PF as a party has put all its eggs in Bill 10. And as we towards 2021, the people of Zambia have come to realize that the opposition are such a people who tell lies even in day.
The word lies?
And truths or falsehoods in the day. If you recall, Mr. Speaker, we had the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, the people of Zambia wanted it like yesterday. They went out, campaigned and decampaigned the Bill of Rights. And it failed to pass. Where are we today? People are now regretting. And to be honest, Mr. Speaker, the people of Zambia have come to realize that trusting the opposition is suicide. Mr. Speaker, you've been observing all the by-elections we've been having. People of Zambia have now been voting for the PF because they know that we mean well for this country. Bringing Bill 10 to this House, we want to wash our hands as PF and want to show the world and Zambia that we mean well for you, but it is other leaders who are actually supposed to be our partners in development who have refused you to have a bill that you desire. And Mr. Speaker, the same people are criticizing this bill. They are going out there saying we want delimitation. And they are feeling the heat of their constituencies. Why can't they just come out in the open and say we support this bill and their constituencies can be delimited? There shall never be another way of delimiting these constituencies. And the truth be known to yourselves that without Bill 10, your constituencies will remain the same. And I must state here that most of us, we shall be challenged heavily because of having one single constituency. We're supposed to have two constituencies. Mr. Speaker, when we came here, you told us that the turnover of Parliament is 60%. And by us increasing constituencies, we shall save some of the members of Parliament who are going to go out in 2021, especially from the UPND. Mr. Speaker, allow me to say that the people of Zambia are watching, and they know that PF mean well on this bill. Should it fail to pass, they know that we have washed our hands and we've brought this bill in this House in good faith. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Livestock and Fisheries.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice in support of Bill 10. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by saying that the impression that is being created in Zambia is that a constitution is a static document. I want to submit this afternoon that a constitution is a moving document. And once you realize that there are certain issues that are creating a problem in a country or in our society, it is only proper that the parties that are involved with the process of constitution-making process sit down and make the necessary changes. Mr. Speaker, if you recall in 2016, we had a lot of problems, even defining 14 days. There was a misunderstanding whether it was 14 working days or it was 14 ordinary days. Here is a government that addresses that. Then you have the people that claim to be government in waiting, then stand up and say, no, this is wrong. How can you be a government in waiting when you don't even know what you need to do to make it possible for the people of Zambia not to create a situation which can cause anarchy in a country? Mr. Speaker, I also want to state that I am one of the people that belong to a marginalized society called women. And starting from independence and pre-independence, the people that made it possible for the independence of Zambia to happen were the women. Yeah. And where are we in terms of governance and decisions of positions of decision making? We are not there. And here is for the first time a government that says they would like to make sure that the women also are properly represented according to the protocols that we have signed, the SADC protocol and the AU protocol, that provides for women's participation in positions of decision making. It is surprising, again, that those that claim to be government in waiting can come to this House and mop up all their people and keep them outside Parliament, and they send their captain to be counting the number of people that are seated in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that people really celebrated during the time of Kaunda was the fact that he identified one of our people who is also marginalized and appointed him as a minister. And here is a government that says, let us continue with that legacy, but even do better. Instead of having one person, would like to have people properly represented that are living with disabilities. Yes. And the young people right now, there was a man in this House, Mr. Speaker, who called himself a youth and is not here. Because youth is 18 years to 35. And is not here to speak for the youth. Because the Constitution has provided for the youth to be represented in this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I think we can't continue with double standards. We can't have people, meaning they cook themselves, they take themselves off the pot and want to pretend that they are part of this governance system. Mr. Speaker, Opposition is not to oppose even things that are progressive. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say, in this country we have misunderstood two things. Democracy, it is being abused to the hilt. We have misunderstood human rights. They are being abused to the hilt. The way we should define human rights, Mr. Speaker, is that we need to know where everybody's rights begin and where they end, and how they interface with other people. So let's not come to this house and pretend that we are promoting human rights when we cannot even speak for the women, when we cannot even speak for the marginalized, the people living with disabilities. We cannot speak for the young people in earnest, but start to pretend when the time suits us. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by the fact that those of us who are in governance right now, who are in government, feel the pinch of what it means to change a constitution for the common good. This morning, there was somebody debating on radio from Munali constituency. They actually said the following, and I
The
quote.
time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member for Nakonde.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving an opportunity to the voice of Nakonde to debate this bill. Mr. Speaker, today the youths of this country will know whether the leaders they have elected are in this house to represent them or to represent their own interests or the interest of an individual. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to introduce proportional representation, where youths will be provided with special seats so that their voice can be heard in this house. These leaders who are standing on the way of this important bill are denying the youths of this country that opportunity. And the youths today will see for themselves as these hypocrites return to their constituencies.
Honorable Member, the word hypocrite. The word hypocrite.
I withdraw. These pretenders, self-centered people who come in this parliament every after 5 years, they go and buy posh cars and they return again and lie to them that they are here to represent them. Mr. Speaker, my constituency, Nakonde, has got 13 wards. And with the CDF that we receive, we face so much challenge to distribute this particular fund amongst these wards. Bill 10 is seeking to allow ECZ to delimit our constituencies so that this particular fund probably can double or triple so that we can sort out most of the problems that we are facing in our constituencies. And these self-centered leaders whose seats today are empty, who are here to represent themselves, are denying our people this particular opportunity to develop our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, it is so sad that they have even failed to represent themselves. It is in 2016 when we saw them with suitcases of what was perceived to be evidence at the High Court. And at the time, at the Concourt, and at the time they were told that your period has elapsed to provide whatever evidence you have that the election has been rigged. They cried foul. But today, they are denying this particular bill that is seeking to introduce a well-stipulated time frame to hear a presidential petition. And you will see them next year because I believe they are going to lose. And once more, they'll go back to the Constitutional Court. Mr. Speaker, with this word, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs is left. The Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing the voice of Kasenengwa to debate on this very important vote. Firstly, I would like to underscore that this bill has been through the mill and has been refined. And indeed, this bill has exceeded constitutional and moral expectation. Mr. Speaker, allow me to underscore that our colleagues, when they hear Bill 10, what rings in their mind is 12th August 2021. But the consequence of this bill goes beyond that. It ensures that the future of Zambia is and shall be as expected, so that we secure the lives of our children. Mr. Speaker, my approach to debate this particular vote, I will not dwell on the content, because the truth of the matter, truth be told, issues of content has been dealt with. And my colleagues have highlighted the clauses which are very progressive, which will ensure that Zambia grows in the right trajectory. Mr. Speaker, indeed, what could have been done more than what has been done as it relates to this Bill 10? The Constitution, Article 79, is very clear on how the amendments ought to be done. It's very clear on that score. But because we realized there was a call by stakeholders that there must be consensus building, and morally that was given against the background that actually the amendments could have been done through the provision of Constitution Article 79. That said, Mr. Speaker, various vehicles were provided for to ensure that there was consensus building. Vis-a-vis, there was Savonga resolution. There was a consultative meeting, which was for party president. There was indeed NDF provided for a wider consultation. There was indeed all the processes were followed. Mr. Speaker, even after the bill came on this floor of the House and was referred to the Select Committee, again, it is subjected to further investigation. Various people from various walks of life, they came and subjected this bill to that. But what did we see? Our friends were evolving, like, Stone Age and the next Zonjathropus and so on and so forth. The first thing was, they said it was about consensus building. And they evolved from consensus building to contentious clause. They evolved to issues of trust. They evolved to issues of the bill has lapsed. They evolved. They went to the courts. They evolved. They are not here. They can't debate. Mr. Speaker, the debate as it gets to this matter at this point has got nothing to do with the context. Our friends are merely politicking. The issue is, by now, they shall come in this House and actually tell the Zambians what is wrong about this Bill 10. And it's their constitutional responsibility to do so. But where are they? They're out there. Mr. Speaker, if our colleagues had a bit of conscience, as little as this, they should have been in this House to be honest enough to debate on this matter. Tell the Zambians what is wrong about this bill. But they do not have answers. As such, the ramifications of them not participating will be far-reaching. And indeed, as I end, I support this bill, and I believe our colleagues will come in this House and support this bill, without which they will have nothing to say tomorrow when people ask them, what did they do when this opportunity came? With that, Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this bill. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister for Eastern Province.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this golden opportunity to lay bare the truth about Bill 10 and what it seeks to achieve. Bill 10 does not, in the first place, seek to perpetuate the stay of the Patriotic Front in government. Bill 10
seeks to refine the lacuna that exists in the current constitution. And some of these include the outcry by the UPND to the extent that 14 days of hearing an appeal was not enough. It seeks to extend the representation and improve representation of people that are differently abled, people that are marginalized, such as the women and the youths. This has been the outcry out there. Picking it up from where Honorable for Kembe, Honorable Member for Chembe left off, there are those that purported to represent the youth yesterday in trying to speak out for the youths. This would have been a golden opportunity for the youths to be able to air their views. This would have been an opportunity for them to advocate for better representation of the youths so that they come to this house and be able to speak out there as to what exactly they hope to achieve or they hope to see in this country. A larger percentage of the population in this country is that of youths. And this percentage of youths seeks to have better representation, to get rid of the olden kind of representation where it was only those with money that were able to make it because they were able to fund their way through the campaigns. Women have been marginalized because of their sex, firstly, and secondly, they have not had the resources to be able to campaign. Even when they campaign, they do not have sufficient resources to extend their campaigns to far-reaching places that other men or men who are well off are able to reach. But this opportunity that has availed itself to the Zambian people is that they have an opportunity to get better representation. This is a day of reckoning as to who has the best interests of the Zambian people. We do recall in 2016, when we sought to have better representation of people, when we sought to enhance the rights of the Zambian people, that the UPND went out there and told the people that the referendum was bad. The referendum was going to provide an opportunity where development was going to be a rights-based approach. People were going to have a right to education and take government to task if they did not provide proper education. People were going to treat health as a right and were going to take government to task if that right to health was not taken care of. But alas, they were misinformed by the mischievous opposition party that thought they would form government.
The word mischievous is unparliamentary.
Well, they were misinformed by an opposition party that refuses to take responsibility and thought if at all, by any stroke of luck, they formed government, they did not want to shoulder the responsibility that us as PF are willing to shoulder. And that is a rights-based approach towards development. We are not doing the Zambian people a favor by constructing roads. It is their right that they should have those roads. We're not doing the Zambian people a favor by constructing schools, hospitals, and all those amenities. It is their right. And we want that right safeguarded in the Constitution. This is a day of reckoning, as I earlier stated. And the Zambian people will know who has their best interests. It is not whether or not we will pass the second reading. It is not whether or not we are going to achieve or who wins or who loses in this case. The winners and the real losers in this particular case will be the Zambian people, because they will have been denied an opportunity to have a better constitution, a constitution that responds to their aspirations. Consensus does not mean everybody has to agree. It just means that we all have to come to a sense that we need these changes, and these changes are necessary if at all we are going to develop Zambia and take Zambia to higher heights. And that is what we have undertaken to do as a Patriotic Front, and that is what President Edgar Chagwa wants for the people of Zambia. This constitution is the lifeblood of this nation, and we shall deliver it to our people.
Honorable Minister of Home Affairs.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. Mr. Speaker, just to be clear with the comments that have been made by my colleagues regarding the delimitation of constituencies. Because we have heard arguments that delimitation can still be done even without making amendments to the current constitution. Mr. Speaker, whilst Article 58 provides for delimitation, and specifically Section 5 of 58, the Electoral Commission, I quote, shall, at intervals of not more than 10 years, review the names and boundaries of constituencies and wards. 10 years. What this simply entails, Mr. Speaker, is that every time the Electoral Commission of Zambia wants to review these constituencies as provided for in this constitution, they will have to come back to the constitution itself. And we have been saying the constitution must not be tampered with that often. So unless there is this provision, the catch, Mr. Speaker, we need to deal with, the lacuna in this case, is Article 68. Article 68, Mr. Speaker, say, Section 2, National Assembly shall consist of A, 156 members directly elected on the basis of a simple majority vote under the first past the post system. Now, Mr. Speaker, I've heard even learned members of this House going to mislead the public out there that without dealing with this, we can still do delimitation. Electoral Commission of Zambia have done a lot of work, Mr. Speaker, to try and make sure that they delimitate the constituencies which are vast. Those of us who come from rural constituencies here, Mr. Speaker, both on my side and on your left-hand side, will tell you that it's a tall order to save our people effectively with the current sizes of our constituencies. We all know. So, here we have got an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, and our people of Zambia must know that we, on this side, mean well, because we want to take services to them as closer as we can. That's why we have done districts closer to the people, so that they can access government services. So denying the people this opportunity will be injustice to the people. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, Honorable Minister of Chiefs and Traditional Affairs, talked about the issue of the chiefdom wrangles. The Ministry of Home Affairs is besieged with so many complaints of people killing each other and hacking each other in these chiefdoms. Yes, the traditional royal highnesses proposed to us because they wanted to identify themselves through the family trees of each chiefdom. And we agreed. But they have also realized that without government recognition, it's very difficult for them to sustain their chiefdoms. I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, if the chief cries to the police and says there's an imposter in this chiefdom, how do we distinguish between an imposter and that one who is a right heir to the throne, when there's no government gazette which gives authority to a recognized chief? That's not to say government should play a role in recognizing who becomes a chief, but that government must authenticate, verify through the House of Chiefs to say, yes, indeed, this is the right heir to the throne, and we as government will recognize. In any case, how is the Minister of Finance going to pay someone who is not recognized? So, Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of chaos in the chiefdoms. And so we are trying to help the chiefs who have come back. We have had engagements with the Royal Highnesses who have petitioned us to say, please revisit this particular article so that we include the recognition by government, whilst we identify ourselves as traditional leaders. That's what we are trying to deal with, Mr. Speaker. So, to the chiefs, if this doesn't pass, we, on this side, Mr. Speaker, have done our part. They should know who to blame. Yeah. The honorable MPs on your left are equally with most of them coming from chiefdoms. And these chiefdoms, I had one chief trying to plead with his members of parliament to support this amendment. Mr. Speaker, to the people of Zambia, we mean well, but should we fail, they shouldn't blame it on us. We have done our part. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister for Copper Belt Province.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the people of Chongwe and the Copper Belt an opportunity to submit on what the desires of the Zambians want. The people of Zambia, Mr. Speaker, they have deliberated on this matter, on Bill 10. And Bill 10, as government, we are just carriers of the message of the people of Zambia and what the people of Zambia want to see. Mr. Speaker, this is the party that was elected on the premise that it was going to listen to the people of Zambia and that it was going to do what the wishes of Zambians are. And here we are today. We stand with our people of this country to say the Bill of Rights is the right of our citizens. And Bill 10, Mr. Speaker, is speaking to us, our conscience, our ethnicity. It is speaking to us because the clergies, the churches, they have submitted that they want Zambia to be a Christian nation and they want it into their constitution. But we have our colleagues on the other side who are saying they don't want to see that because they believe that there's too much money across there that is coming through the gate. And I think this is the reason why our colleagues are on the crossroads. They are on the crossroad, Mr. Speaker, because we are going to have to campaign in 2021. And obviously, money has to flow from there. Here we are, Mr. Speaker, we have chosen to say we choose between the money and the people. We have decided to choose the people of Zambia. That the little that we have as a nation, we are going to feed on it as long as we are not going to die because God has blessed us. Mr. Speaker, in the bill, we are talking about delimitation. Chongwe has got 19 words. And when I receive 1.6 million, I remove 5%. I remain with 80,000 kwacha for a word. And that becomes impossible for me to deliver what the people of Chongwe are expecting through CDF. Now the people of Chongwe, they have been given an opportunity to have 3 constituencies so that they can receive enough money that is going to help them to deliver to their expectation. Here we are today. We have our colleagues on the left that have decided to make them continue to suffer. Mr. Speaker, the Bill of Rights, we went ahead with the Zambian people, campaigned, and our colleagues stopped because they didn't want that woman who is pregnant not to be exempted from going into jail. Mr. Speaker, this matter is not about winning the bill today. It's about doing the will of our people. PF has chosen to stand with these people, and our colleagues have chosen to stand with their masters. But we are saying, next year, 2021, the same people, the people with disabilities, our youths and our women, they will be voting in numbers. Days are numbered. That day is coming to record. And that day, be mindful that you are going to get a 0 vote. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing the voice Chama South to contribute on Bill 10. Mr. Speaker, allow me to maybe give a background of how this House make laws. Mr. Speaker, when the executive wing of our government sponsors a bill to Parliament, you constitute committees. In this case, Mr. Speaker, you constituted a select committee to look at this bill. The opposition, the UPND, argued that they needed consensus before they can support the bill. The government went ahead and came up with a legitimate forum, the National Dialogue Forum, where all stakeholders convened to look at the bill. Mr. Speaker, this is not, or this idea was not in the Constitution, but our working government actually came up with an act to ensure that the agreement that came out of the National Dialogue Forum should be legally binding. The UPND decided to abscond from this important consultative forum, and Zambians should look at them or judge them based on their actions. They absconded. Mr. Speaker, your committee came up with recommendations, and these recommendations looked at all the issues which the UPND were raising. I know the Honorable Chief Whip outlined these recommendations, and I'll repeat them. The introduction of deputy ministers were looked at. The issue of retirees being paid promptly and not being retained on the payroll was looked at, among any other issues which the UPND was raising. Mr. Speaker, the government went further in assuring the people of this country that all the concerns that the people raised, including the UPND, were looked into and considered. The Minister of Justice gazetted those concerns through a gazette notice, assuring the people of Zambia that the government has taken into account their concerns. Mr. Speaker, we expected the UPND to be in this House to debate issues or object to issues which they do not want in the Constitution, so that the people of Zambia out there can hear them. But what have they done? They are running away. So I want to urge the people of Zambia that this political party, UPND, is not, or I would say, does not mean well for them. Because if they meant well, they should have been here to argue. Thereafter, maybe vote against the bill. The fact that they are running away completely shows that they have nothing to tell the people of Zambia. No wonder they fought the Enhanced Bill of Rights in 2016 general election. If anything, that Bill of Rights should have been the basis on which the people of Zambia should be rejecting the UPND. Here they are, staying away from the bill that is meant to empower the youths, that is meant, the people of Chama want to ensure, or the people of Mchinga, that the UPND does not want the constituencies to be delimited. Due to time, Mr. Speaker, I want to state that I'm in support of this bill, and will work to ensure that the
The
UPND
time is up.
is completely removed from the political landscape.
Time
I
is
thank you,
up.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to debate or add my voice on the issue of Bill number 10. Mr. Speaker, we have heard a lot of speculation. We have heard a lot of untruths. We've heard a lot of stories coming from our colleagues in the UPND telling the people of Zambia things that are not even contained in the bill. Today, Mr. Speaker, I want to state that this is not about whether the bill will go through or not go through. This is about what the people of Zambia wanted. I remember very well, as one of the lawyers that was in the Concourt during the presidential petition, that there's a politician who was crying like a small boy, saying that the 14 days was not enough. And in bill number 10, we said, let's give him 30 days. Again, he says bill number 10 is poisonous. It's like adding poison, sugar to poison. I recall very well, just that 2 weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, some MP here, belonging to some red ants, was actually complaining.
Honorable Chief Whip, I don't think there's any honorable person, according to my records, who belongs to some red ants. Can you withdraw that?
I withdraw red ants. It's commonly known as red devils, but we will say some political party I don't want to mention.
Honorable member, take a seat. These political groupings are officially designated. If the other terminologies which have been ascribed to whoever, not here. Not here. Outside you have the freedom. 101 descriptions. And anyway, you are supposed to be helping me enforce what I'm doing as a whip. Now I have to cancel you. My ally in discipline. Honorable member, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to say that we heard a UPND MP complaining that there are too many court cases involving chiefdoms, and that there are some chiefdoms which don't have chiefs. In some instances, 10 years, the case is still in court. And he was saying that he would like the House of Chiefs to be the correct house to deal with matters of chiefs. And that is exactly what we have said in Bill number 10. I'm also aware, Mr. Speaker, that the debate surrounding Bill number 10 has been highly politicized. And as a result of that, the people of Zambia do not know exactly what is in Bill number 10. The truth about how the bill came about is well known. The people of Zambia who sat and complained that the 2016 constitution had a lot of problems and they wanted them to be resolved wholesomely, they will be the ones who will be losing if today Bill number 10 does not go through. But I can assure somebody that even if today they force the bill not to go through, nothing will change. The PF will remain in power, and as far as we are concerned, the fear they have that their person will not be allowed to stand is neither here nor there. Because whether he stands or doesn't stand, he will lose again next year. We are going out to go and repeat to the people that the same people who shot the Bill of Rights have again shot Bill number 10. And we also had several people who actually come here ignorantly, or not ignorantly, sorry, Mr. Speaker, who come here forgetting that they are the ones who actually caused a certain situation. They have cried and said that this government is not protecting human rights. This government, the Bill of Rights, a public order bill, ABCD, and we have heard all those cries. If anybody reads through Bill number 10, you will find that the bill was going to change the landscape of this country. Our laws would have been enhanced, and our people would have actually been guaranteed of certain rights. Today, as we speak, Mr. Speaker, there is nothing in Bill number 10 that says that the President wants to prolong his stay in State House. And there is nothing which says that if Bill number 10 goes through, the elderly people, and they've gone around telling lies to people, sorry, not
The
telling
word
lies,
lies?
but misleading people that bill number 10 is bad. I want to repeat, Mr. Speaker, that this bill is a golden opportunity for the people of Zambia. And as PF and as government, whether bill number 10 goes through today or does not go through, creates an opportunity for us to go and campaign properly in 2021. Then we are going to make sure that we create a platform for someone to get 0 votes. Because a lot of youths who would have come to this house at bill number 10, or if bill number 10 goes through, would have lost. A lot of women who actually cry that their representation here is below 50% would have lost. A lot of retirees would have lost. And we're also aware that even the chiefs in their chiefdoms, as we go to 2021 elections, they must remember who has made their situation worse than it is right now. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank all the brave members of Parliament of the PF who have come to this house, because this is where the debate happens. All those who have actually abducted people, kept them in hiding so that they don't vote bill number 10, must ask themselves whether abducting a member of Parliament is not as bad as abducting a police officer. And with those few remarks, I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, and say we will meet in 2021 on the ballot. I thank you.
Honorable Member, Minister for Northern Province. Honorable Minister for Northern Province. I've been notified that you wanted to debate. Seemingly absent. The Honorable Minister of Tourism and Arts.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to debate Bill 10. Mr. Speaker, looking to the part of where the opposition sits makes my heart bleed. And I shudder to wonder why Zambia is not developed. It's because we don't put the interest of the nation first. You can't have a situation, Mr. Speaker, where somebody stands and says, it's either my way or there's no way. That's not leadership. You can't hold elected members of Parliament at ransom and gag them from representing the people that have sent them to Parliament. I cry for people of Kasempa. I stand up when my wife comes from Northwestern. I cry for people of Mwinilunga who would have sent the member of Parliament to come and debate and push that Bill 10 goes through so that Mwinilunga can have 3 constituencies. I cry for the people of Bufumbwe. You can't imagine one member of Parliament managing a constituency as far as in Kamiseke and Seke to Kashima West. And then a member of Parliament chooses to abandon that civic responsibility that the people have sent them for. I cry for the chiefs of Zambia because the institution of chieftaincy is at the bleak of absolute. And then tomorrow, they will go to the chiefdoms and begin campaigning that they want to be chiefs. They want to be members of Parliament. Because their leader said, Bill 10 or delimitation can only happen if I'm president. Where? Is it Bill 10 that is going to make him president? Wait, we shall meet on the ground. Or tell the people of Zambia, what kind of selfishness is this? I cry for the church. And then tomorrow they will come to the church. They have refused Zambia to be recognized in the constitution as a Christian nation. And then pastors will be standing for them in church? Shame. I cry for the youths of Zambia who have been crying to come to Parliament. In Bemba we say, the only one who can feel what the youths are going through are youths themselves. And President Lunga said, okay, I've heard your cry. We shall create safe seats for youths so that you can be in Parliament and you speak for yourself. Today somebody is saying, I don't care for the youths. And then tomorrow they go to the colleges and the universities and campaign among the youths. I cry for women of Zambia. Women of Zambia have been crying. They have had lower representation in Parliament. And President Lungu says, okay, I hear you. I'll give you the opportunity to be represented by yourselves in Parliament without competition. And then one political leader stands up and said, no, without me, there will never be all those good progressive bills passing. All the members of parliament standing on the political party who have been given a mandate as a leader, they will not participate and they will not vote. Surely people of Zambia, tomorrow they will come to you and campaign and you give them a platform. We shall meet on the ground in 2021. We shall go to the chiefdoms where we belong and we shall tell the people. We shall speak to our chiefs. We belong to the churches. We shall speak to the church leadership that these are the kind of people that you don't need to take even the closer to the leadership because you can't trust them. These are the people that are serving their own personal interest. These are people that maybe they have been paid, as we are hearing that, maybe because there's some international forces that are pushing the foreign agenda for Zambia. Maybe there's some money somewhere where these people have been told, if you do this, you shall get this. But it is not money that votes. It is the people of Zambia. We want to appeal to the people of Zambia that with or without Bill 10, President Lungu, after 12 August 2021, he will still be president of Zambia because we shall go out there and campaign among the people of Zambia. With or without Bill 10, we shall tell the youths that we meant well for you. Here is a certain grouping of people. Here is a couch that doesn't want you to come to parliament. Here is a couch for women that is stopping you to go to parliament. It will be up to the women of Zambia. It will be up to the youths of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, I support this bill 100%.
Honorable Minister of Local Government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this debate on Bill 10. I would like to say from the onset that I support the bill and the motion on the floor. Mr. Speaker, time and again, I keep wondering as to whether we do understand what politics is. And I want to be a bit philosophical about politics and the law. I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because Bill 10, in as far as I'm concerned, is not about party or political popularity. Bill 10, Mr. Speaker, is not about settling scores. Bill 10, Mr. Speaker, is about building bridges for the future. In 2016, when President Edgar Chagwa Lungu won the presidency, he was being challenged by the opposition UPND, who said they were not sure as to whether he was going to append his signature to the new constitution. We told them there were lacunas in the constitution. They argued about it. And they said we were finding excuses for President Edgar Chagwa Lungu not to append his signature to the new constitution. They deliberately paid a blind eye to the lacunas in that constitution. Until His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu said to the nation that he was going to append his signature to show that he actually meant well. And this was the reason why that constitution was signed in a public place at the Heroes Stadium. He didn't miss his words. He made it very clear, I'm signing, but remember, there are lacunas, which we shall need to cure. And this is the opportunity that we have, Mr. Speaker, to cure the lacunas in the Constitution. Now, here is the background to why we are in this House, Mr. Speaker. It's not a new phenomenon that people are meeting to make laws. These are things that have happened from the ancient times of Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, including the Acephalous rule of the ancient Africa, where people ruled by consensus. The Greek city-states, Mr. Speaker, where people used to meet under trees all of them in the city, because the populations were small, to agree. But today, because populations are big, huge, we are in millions, that is why we select a few to represent the rest. Meaning that all of us who are in this house today, Mr. Speaker, we are representing 17 million Zambians who are supposed to sit in this house to make the laws and not to run away from debating. Mr. Speaker, this is a representative democracy. Politics is about agreeing, disagreeing, and reconciling. And politics is a marketplace where people go to choose what they want to buy, where people choose what they want to go and pick. The law, for you who are the learned colleagues, you know very well that we are not in a state of nature. A state of nature is where people do anything anyhow, and there's nothing wrong about it. But what happened was, upon realizing that they could be right or wrong, we all surrendered our rights in what we call the law today. We all surrendered into the law, and the law was transformed into a constitution to guide and show us the way on how we are supposed to live. And that is why we sit in this house. But now, we want to discuss, to debate the law, and the people are out there to listen to politicians debating politics. The politicians who are supposed to debate politics have decided to stay away from the house of politics. What a shame, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Bill 10 means very well for the people of Zambia. It would have been very, very important if all of us had sat here to disagree, agree, and then reconcile and move forward. Because what we are supposed to be focusing on is posterity. How is posterity going to judge us in future? How is posterity going to judge us in future? Are we going to be happy to be labeled as selfish individuals?
Your time is up.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister of General Education. The Honorable Minister of General Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really stand to support this motion with a very heavy heart, because this bill which we are debating, whose value is self-evident to the people of Zambia, has been transformed into a war, a political war. Because those who are against this bill, they are not against the content of the bill, but they have seized this debate around the bill to look for an opportunity to dent the good works of the ruling Patriotic Front. They are looking for an opportunity to embarrass government. They are looking for an opportunity to create political mileage. So it makes me sad that we have to spend so much time justifying a document whose value is self-evident. And also, Mr. Speaker, there is an element of ignorance around this debate, because one of the principal arguments advanced by the people against the bill is that there has not been sufficient consensus, sufficient consultation. This is not right. It's also a sign of ignorance by the people advancing this argument. Mr. Speaker, the American Constitution was drafted by one person, one man, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was the one person who drafted the American Constitution and later on became the third president of that particular country. But once it was drafted by Thomas Jefferson in his own house, it was taken to institutions of this nature, to the Senate, to Congress, to be debated, and it was agreed upon. And as has been mentioned by some colleagues, that this document is never static. We have heard of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. So we can have also amendments. If anybody feels that this constitution we are debating will still have some lacunas, there will always be opportunities to make those changes, just as has been the case over the years. So I think I am really saddened. And then also when you look at the world constitutions, I've been reading a book on world constitutions. I just forgot, Mr. Speaker, to come with this book to the House. When you look at the structure of the various constitutions around the world, you will see that the kind of consultations they are talking about, what we have done in this country to culminate into the document that we are debating on today, is far more elaborate than what takes place in a number of countries, even in the advanced countries. I have the book on world constitutions, which I can share with the House. So this issue of trying to dramatize about no, there has not been adequate consultations, it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse to try to look for a platform to dent the image of government. Mr. Speaker, this today is the will of the people which is on trial. It's not the bill. It's the will of the people which is on trial. And those people who are going to frustrate the will of the people, one day will stand in the court of public opinion to account for their actions. I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government of President Edgar Chagwa, and of course your good self in this House, has been very pragmatic in the implementation of legislative objectives. People of Zambia, by history and instinct, are very good people. But the kind of hate which is being preached now through social media is unbelievable. The opposition has today failed to live up by their perceived concern on the national treasury. Because in this bill, why am I saying so? In this bill, there is a provision in which we have said the electoral college of the mayors and council chairmen must change. That is looking at the cost implication of voting for a mayor in the whole district, given a situation like Quito, which has got 5 constituencies. All those constituencies have got to vote for a mayor, as opposed of it going back to the way it was, a councillor, and then they choose a leader amongst themselves. Mr. Speaker, we are at this point supposed to draw a line of modus vivendi between the people on your left and on the right. We have voted to this House to interpret the law. We have voted to this House to make the law. This is where we are supposed to argue what must come into the Constitution and what must not. But it's unfortunate that people now who actually put up a blunted lie in public to say this Constitution...
Honorable Minister, the word line.
I'll withdraw that, Mr. Speaker, and replace it with the misinformation to the public that this Constitution is going to prolong the term of office for the president. Zambia is a country which is admired outside, the kind of peace that is here, the kind of constitution we have in this country. But the people of Zambia in certain sectors don't seem to appreciate it because their minds are preconceived for one person to get into State House. Mr. Speaker, I've been in politics for a while. And I think this situation which we have now, there are quite a good number of members of parliament from opposition that wanted to come and support this bill. But unfortunately, they were abducted and threatened. This is the situation where you say police are going beyond their limit. Because this is in the Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia. This is a very serious offense. Yes. We could have had a good number of colleagues that were determined to debate with us today. Yes. But just this lunchtime, they were bundled into the car, come here, come to Parliament, go and log in and get out. We shouldn't go. We should give freedom to all individuals, those that are in our parties. Even if we are heading the parties, we must give them freedom to determine what they think should be the constitution that will lead the people of Zambia. With those few words, Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Honorable members, you agree we've had quite an extensive debate. So I need now to begin winding down so that I may allow for conclusion, proper conclusion of this motion. So I'll take the following as the last interventions. And beyond this list, please don't bother to indicate, because I want to acknowledge you anyway. The Honorable Minister of Youth and Sport, Child Development, Honorable Member for Serenje, Honorable Member for Mangango, Honorable Member for Mchinga, Honorable Member for Senga Hill, and that's it. In fact, Honorable, unless they've withdrawn.
No, we are there.
But anyway, I recorded them. If they've withdrawn their names, they'll indicate.
No,
so for avoidance of doubt, I'll repeat the list. The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Child Development, Honorable Member for Serenje, Honorable Member for Mangango, Honorable Member for Mchinga, Senga Hill, and Honorable Member for Luasenshi. That is the end. We have to allow for conclusion of this motion. The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Child Development.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity you have granted me to debate this very important motion. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, when I was campaigning, indeed the church stood with me, prayed for me, and many times I congregated with them. Even now, Mr. Speaker, after being elected as a Member of Parliament for Ndola Central and subsequently given a position of minister, I still congregate in those churches within my constituents and beyond. Mr. Speaker, the messages they gave me were that we should enshrine in the Constitution Zambia as a Christian nation. And the reason they gave, Mr. Speaker, is that we need to be identified of who we are. Even in our times when we were growing up, Mr. Speaker, when I was young, whenever you do something wrong, they would ask for your parents. Where does this person come from? Indeed, Mr. Speaker, as Zambians, being a Christian nation, we were supposed to be identified as Christians by enshrining this in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, many people have cried for Public Order Act, that they are not given freedom of assembly to assemble at their own time. Many have complained, Mr. Speaker, and this bill is addressing the issue of Public Order Act. Mr. Speaker, this bill is talking about mixed member proportion, whereby women's, youth,
and individuals who are physically challenged will be given safe seats to be represented in this House. Mr. Speaker, on the 11th of March 2020, we had an indaba with His Excellency, the President of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, with the youths at Mulungushi Conference. He gave an opportunity for the youths to air their views so that he can address them. Among the many issues they raised, they categorically pointed 3 as the most important ones. Number 1, equal representation in Parliament. Number 2, the debt finance was quite high, and the youth should be at least assisted in getting finance so that they can do the business they want to do. Mr. Speaker, if you look at equal representation, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia has no powers to sit in this House and speak on behalf of the youths. Today, Mr. Speaker, we want the youths to be represented in this House. Many individuals and members of Parliament have stood masquerading, Mr. Speaker, as youths when they are not youths. If I go to the Constitution of Zambia, Article 266, and on page 112, which defines who a youth is, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, youth means a person who has attained the age of 19 years but is below the age of 35 years. If you look at motions which are moved in this House, like the one which was moved yesterday, and one calling himself a youth when he's 40 years, Mr. Speaker, the youths are crying there. They are saying we want to represent ourselves in the House. We want to speak for ourselves because we are the ones who are carrying this burden. If today this bill won't go through, I urge the youths who I represent in this country that reject these people who have stayed in this parliament for long. There is no way someone can stay in parliament for over 3 terms, Mr. Speaker, and has never formed government. They should give an opportunity for the youths to come and represent themselves. That's the reason to why high levels of employment are there, Mr. Speaker, because people are clinging to these positions. They need to give the youths an opportunity to come and speak for themselves. They are going to bring fresh ideas. There are no fresh ideas, Mr. Speaker, fresh ideas which are going to create employment in this country, Mr. Speaker. Having said that, time cannot allow me. Thank you for the opportunity granted.
My record shows that the Honorable Member for Serenje debated last time. Honorable Member for Mangango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add 1 or 2 words on this bill. Mr. Speaker, I am very disappointed. I was expecting the members of Parliament for UPND to be here and debate for this bill. But what I'm seeing is there are about 4 or 5.
Honorable Member for Mangango. The focus should be on Bill 10.
Very disappointed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am going to focus on the constituencies, the issue of delimitations. We have a good number of constituencies which are too vast, e.g., Mongu Central. Unfortunately, is not here.
Honorable Member for Mangango. You know, we have very limited time. Take a seat. We have very limited time. And you know, if I constantly intervene, I'm even wasting more time, and I may end up not asking those people I've already identified to debate. Because I want to be sure that we complete this motion on time. There are certain procedures that I have to perform beyond the debate. So, for instance, if you are talking about Mongu constituents, you talk about Mongu constituents, regardless of who the holder of the constituency is for the time being. We're not dealing with personal issues here. We're dealing with the Constitution. We are not doing this for the benefit of individuals. We are doing this for the benefit of the nation and posterity. So, if you start singling out individual, is not here, there for his constituency, you have difficulties with me. You have difficulties with me. And anyway, these are not even personal to order constituencies. You come and go. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the guidance. If anything, Mr. Speaker, is supposed to give me 10 minutes because I'm debating for the first time. So, but because of the rules, anyway, I will debate for 5 minutes.
Let's be sure. Anyway, continue. Continue.
I was saying, we have a good number of constituencies. 1, Mongu Central. 2, Lukulu East. 3, Chilirabombwe. Mwenilunga. Kasempa. Mufumbwe. Chilubi. Etc. etc. So these people from your left side, or the honorable members, sorry, from your left side, they're supposed to be here and debate and tell the people of Zambia to say, we are not supporting Bill 10 because of the following reasons. Now they have decided not to come here. How are the people of Zambia going to know that this bill is not good or this bill is good? We know you are not supporting this bill. You want to be readopted. Adoption, Mr. Speaker, it's not by not supporting Bill 10. Adoption is being popular on the ground. Even us here, on your right side, if you're not popular, you're not going to be adopted. So, same applies to Honorable Jackie Mwimbo. Oh, sorry.
Honorable Member for Mangonga, withdraw reference to Honorable Jack Mwimbu. Withdraw. Withdraw reference to Honorable Jack Mwimbu.
No, sorry.
That's not sufficient. Withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, withdrawn.
Withdraw reference to Honorable Jack Mwimbu.
I have withdrawn, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, proceed.
Yes. So, honorable members from the left side, or your left side, Mr. Speaker, they were supposed to be here to debate for this bill, so that they tell the people of Zambia to say, no, we are not supporting this because of ABCD. Now, what we are seeing is only 4 who are here. And them again, they are here just to witness, to see.
Honorable member, the debate cannot be on individuals.
Mr. Speaker, that's why I've told you to say I'm disappointed.
How do you know? Probably Honorable Jack Mwimbu wants to debate. Continue.
And he has not indicated.
Continue.
We are here to present the people who gave us votes. We are not here to present a political party. Yeah, we are here because of a political party.
The word yeah.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, I think with these few remarks, I thank you.
That was a very efficient debate. Honorable member from Chinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice on this very important motion or bill that seeks to amend the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by saying that this is our country. And therefore, this country expects that the people who have been taken or brought to this house should have come here or should come here to come and make laws. And I think that is our mandate, the mandate that we should make laws. And this is an example of a very important document, Mr. Speaker, that the people of Zambia would have expected or will expect that will be, brought to this house, and, we give the people of Zambia the document that will stand the test of time. It is expected that the youths of this country have been waiting for us to make a decision, and that decision to allow them to come to this house and speak for them. I know, Mr. Speaker, that this issue has been spoken about, has been talked about by so many members, but it is a very important issue that I think cannot pass without myself adding a voice to it. The women of this country are very expectant, and they expect that their members of parliament, those who have been sent to this house to come and make these laws, will do justice to this document and come up with those laws that will advance that cause to have the women of this country to come and be represented. Because we all know that in terms of percentage, there are very few women represented in this house. And this is a safeguard that should have been, that is supposed to be put in this constitution so that they can come and represent themselves. The marginalized, the different abled people, I think that we can't overemphasize the fact that these people, these citizens of this country need to be represented. So therefore, the people out there, those who are marginalized, they expect that this house today will come up with that decision to allow them to come to this house and defend what they believe in. Come and talk for themselves. Mr. Speaker, the delimitation issue, those of us who are coming from the rural constituencies, we feel that we need this delimitation to happen. The only way we are going to have this delimitation by making that decision to allow the Constitution to give that opportunity for more constituencies to be created. Mr. Speaker, the government, I think from the time that we started this process of coming up with the Constitution, the government, and I must applaud the government, the executive, that they have lived up to the expectations of the people of Zambia. Because from the time that the last constitutional amendment happened, the president allowed that constitution to be, amended and appended the signature for it to be in operation. Mr. Speaker, this time around, the president and the executive and his executive have been magnanimous enough to allow the process to happen, and the constitutional amendments that the people of Zambia, those clauses that they did not want, have been or were going to be removed, or are going to be removed.
Your time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member for Sengayu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to bring out maybe some of my frustrations as I at times endure when an issue comes up and I'm not able to contribute because maybe a list has been submitted and one has been told you're not on that list. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by saying that this process was not started by government. And I want to say this so that people can hear the truth. This was not started by government. It was started by chief executives of parties. And when this process came to NDF, government did not hijack it. In fact, I was so surprised how quiet the Minister of Justice was during these deliberations. He never tried in any way to direct this process. It was all fully done by the people that attended. And it was a very encompassing kind of process in that people from various organizations and clubs attended to make this Bill 10. So my frustration comes when things like this happen and we are supposed to be debating this kind of important bill, and there are others who are not allowed to. The silence on the other side, the opposite side, is worrying because it shows that some information is missing on their part. They can't participate. And that's worrying. The reason being that it's government's duty to bring bills to Parliament. And I'm surprised that whenever government brings bill to Parliament, the other side is very active. In fact, more of them speak than would want to speak on our side. So why this particular bill has been shunned is what I can't understand. What I want to say is this. It has become very common in this country, especially, that when government brings, especially the constitutional amendment bills, it's always objected to by not participating. I remember being here when government brought the NCC. The same kind of behavior happened. And I remember when we were doing the last amendment that our side discovered that we had problems with this particular amendment. But because the opposition had insisted that nothing changes, and the bill went as it was brought to Parliament. So we're not doing any good to the Zambian people. Government is the one that takes care of the country because they are in charge of almost everything, including resources. So when they bring something like this to Parliament, it's because they think it's worth it. It's necessary for the Zambians. There is a feeling that there is any government anywhere in the world that would like to lose elections. It's not like that. So when government brings something to Parliament of this nature, it's because they think it's good for the country. And everyone must know that it's being done on their behalf, not on government's behalf. And this is my frustration, that people who wanted to really debate this bill have been stopped from debating it. So the Zambian people must know that the reason why they are not hearing a different voice in this parliament is because people have been stopped from debating it. And the only reason why you can do that is if you totally agree with what has been presented. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
As I indicated earlier on, the last intervention will be from Honorable Member for Luvaseshi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity given to the people of Luvansen's constituency to add a voice to this very important debate. It's very, very important in the sense that the people themselves decided. They decided to send me here. They decided to send all the members of parliament here and represent them and speak on their behalf, which we are doing today. It's unfortunate if the people gave me authority to come here, to come and represent them and make laws on their behalf. I don't do that. I'm actually demeaning the people that sent me. So the only members, the members of parliament from the opposition who are supposed to be here to speak on this bill so that the people understand or get what is wrong in there or what is right in there, have been denied that opportunity. That is very unfortunate. And I doubt if next year the same MPs will be given an opportunity to come and represent the same people. Obviously, people are intelligent. They will look around for another person. Your person who has actually put you in an enclosure will not protect you because you will not be there. This constitution and the identification of the lacunas that we see in this constitution is not necessary or was not necessarily done by the Patriotic Front government. It was done by a number of people way back, even before the government of the Republic of Zambia under the Patriotic Front was in power. You remember that a number of commissions have been created before. And they were talking about the same thing, to ensure that they look at the Constitution and they take away the challenges that people noticed. It's not necessarily us who are seated here. We found that the challenges were identified by the people who are still outside and who sent us here to come and represent them. So, a process actually came in 2016, where I was here, where our colleagues on your left, Mr. Speaker, strongly stood up and danced around this place. And we are saying we want the Constitution to be signed. Yes, the Constitution actually was ascended to by the President. But still, that is a Constitution which was not perfect. And later on, the same people who were dancing around here, the chief executives of the political parties went around and noticed that I think we needed to sort out the issues of the POA, the issues of the Constitution itself, and the issues of the electoral, not electoral commission, but electoral process. That's what they said. And they even indicated those three issues, and they brought them here. Fortunately, we sat down right, in the Mulungush conference. And we noticed this and isolated them. And we said we'll work on them. But what is actually not befitting is to see the same people who had identified these anomalies are keeping away from staying here, so that they tell the people of Zambia what is wrong with these anomalies. Unfortunately, they have actually chosen to stand on a very wrong path where they're able to politicize a noble exercise. Politics will not help you because people know what they wanted. I want to tell you that people will tell you on that day that we wanted this and you didn't give us. We were crying yesterday that the youths are not effectively represented. Youths are not given an opportunity to speak for themselves. And this is what this bill is talking about, is to bring the youths here so that they are able to speak for themselves. Women, unfortunately, you have attended.
Time up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Justice, wind up debate.
Thank you, sir. What a journey. I want to first of all thank God for giving the Zambian people their representatives gathered in this house. This has been a long journey, a journey that has been associated with a lot of debate around Bill 10, some of which has been purely based on malice, some of which has been based on innuendo. During this journey, on behalf of the ruling party and cabinet, I have asked the Zambian people to speak finally through their members of parliament, who they bestowed the responsibility to speak on their behalf through this assembly. That has culminated in this day. History is being recorded today, and posterity shall read this history, and we shall be judged by how we handle matters of state. I'm very pleased to have been the shepherd of this process. I'm very satisfied that the Zambian people today have been treated to this debate. Unfortunately, they have only listened to one side of the debate. The other side has chosen to remain mute. And silent they shall be forever. The fact that they have refused to speak here, where they were allowed to come and speak on behalf of the 17 million people, they should know that they have lost that opportunity forever. Those who have spoken, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to urge you, let this campaign not end today. Let this campaign go out to the villages. Let it go up on the mountains of Zambia. Let it go in the valleys of this country. Let the people know and let the people understand who came to this house to represent them and who have used this house to represent themselves and to represent their myopic interests. Time for us to reckon has come.
Honorable Minister of Justice, the word myopic.
Sir, I withdraw myopic and replace it with short-sightedness. Sir, I want to say that on this side we have always been clear that this debate shall not be a question of numbers, but shall be a question of morality, shall be a question of principle. And let those men and women who stand on the basis of principle take the armor of the day. Let them be the ones who shall stand tall and say, even when we were insulted and criticized because we believed in the principle of working for the Zambian people, not only the current population, but the populations that shall inherit this country, the populations that shall be represented in here through this parliament, let them know that we stand firm. We are determined. We shall not stop here, sir. I speak on behalf of these men and women We shall continue to soldier on to provide the rights of the Zambian people to be represented here in Parliament. I call upon the citizens of Zambia to reckon today that the people on your right are people who are determined to provide them leadership that is inspired and leadership that wishes to ensure that we leave nobody behind. Let the vote be called, and the numbers to us are no longer significant. We have today demonstrated that the men and women on your right, led by Edgar Chagwalungu, shall be men and women who shall stand for the truth, irrespective of the outcome of the count of the vote. Today, we are the victors. On behalf of the PF, I want to say to the Zambian people, thank you for giving us the opportunity to govern you. And we shall present ourselves yet again in 2021. And please give us the confidence that you have given us, because we are a group of people, men and women, who will not falter because of pieces of silver, because of selfishness, because of greed. Sir, I want to end by thanking God Almighty for giving the Zambian people, the men and women on your right. May God continue to bestow his love on Zambia. One Zambia, one nation. In victory, we shall be together. Sir, I thank you most sincerely.
Honorable members, this is a constitutional bill. The procedure for amending the constitution is provided for in Article 79 of the Constitution of Zambia, which provides as follows, and I quote, Article 79(1). Subject to the provisions of this article, Parliament may alter this Constitution or the Constitution of Zambia Act. 2, subject to Clause 3, a bill for the alteration of this Constitution or the Constitution of Zambia Act shall not be passed unless A, not less than 30 days before the first reading of the bill in the National Assembly, the text of the bill is published in the Gazette, and B, the bill is supported on second and third readings by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all members of the Assembly. 2/3 of all members of the Assembly is 111. In addition to this constitutional provision, Standing Order 22 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Coronavirus Disease 2019, Temporary Standing Orders 2020, provides as follows. 22. On the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill number 10 of 2019, and on any other matter requiring a specific threshold prescribed by law to pass, the House shall vote electronically using the multimedia system in the chamber. End of quote. In this regard, in order to comply with the Constitution and the temporary standing orders, I request those members participating from the designated rooms to proceed here to the chamber immediately for purposes of voting. The whips, please ensure your members are in the chamber as soon as possible. Ring the bells.
You are watching Parliament Television. The House has been debating the second reading of the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2019 at second reading stage. Like we earlier said in our earlier broadcast, Pauline did indicate that this bill was restored on the order paper through a motion that was brought on the floor of the House. And resumption of debate continued at 14:30, and currently the House is expected to take a vote. Pauline, the bells are ringing.
Yes, the bells are ringing, actually waiting for all the members of Parliament from the committee rooms to come to the chamber to possibly take a vote.
Right, and so a vote will be taken electronically using the multimedia system in the chamber as announced by the Honourable Mr. Speaker, and the proceedings will be live on Parliament Television, and the Honourable Mr. Speaker is expected to direct as and when the vote opens, and that is after the 4 minutes has elapsed when the bells stop ringing. The Honourable Mr. Speaker is expected to facilitate the voting through an announcement and the directive that have been put in place in the standing orders. Stay tuned to Parliament Television. Shortly, we expect the Honourable Mr. Speaker to call the House to order and the vote will proceed.
Yes, Julius, as we can see now, all the members of Parliament are in their seats, actually in readiness for voting, and just waiting for the Honourable Mr. Speaker to give a directive when they can cast their votes to this the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2019.
And this is not all on the order paper. We expect the House to resolve into Committee of Supply to continue considering estimates of expenditure, including capital and constitutional and statutory expenditure. And we expect to have a resumption of debate on Head 39, Smart Zambia Institute.
We also expect to have Head 44 time allowing, and Head 45. Head 44 is the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, and Head 45 Ministry of Community Development and Social Welfare.
Right, and if the House resolves into Committee of Supply, business is expected to be interrupted about 16:55, and we expect the House to adjourn accordingly immediately after progress has been reported by the chairperson of the committee of the whole House. And currently, like we said, bells are ringing. The House is expected to take a vote. The Honourable Mr. Speaker has announced that 2/3 majority, or 2/3 of members of Parliament, which represents 111, are expected for the motion to be succeeded. Stay tuned.
Unlock the doors. I now proceed to put the question for the decision of the House. I put the question. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. The House will proceed to vote electronically. Please log in to the system. When you hear the paging sound, the vote has opened and the voting screen is displayed on your microphone unit. Select the present key. On the right side of the screen, you will see the words, please cast your vote. Select one of the options, yes, no, or abstain. Once you've selected one of the options, you see the words, vote has been cast on the right side of the screen. When you hear the second paging sound, the vote will close after 1 minute. You have just voted. So that's fair. So, this is my The results of the poll are as follows. Ayes 105, noes 0, abstention 0. The question is therefore less than the required threshold and accordingly is negative, as less than 2/3 of all members of the Assembly have voted in the affirmative. Therefore, the bill falls away. Next order.
Estimates of revenue and expenditure, including capital and constitutional and statutory expenditure, Committee of Supply, resumption of committee work.
The House will now resolve into Committee of Supply.
When business was interrupted yesterday, order, honorable members, order. Let me just do this part, then you can proceed. Let me just do this part. When business was interrupted yesterday, Wednesday, 28th October 2020, the Committee of Supply on the estimates for the year 1st January 2021 to 31st December 2021, presented to the National Assembly in September 2020, was considering Head 39, Smart Zambia Institute, and Professor Lungwangwa was debating. May he continue?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Smart Zambia is an extremely important institution. It is an institution that will see to it that Zambia is truly transformed. Madam Chair, what Smart Zambia is ultimately going to do for this country is to ensure that government services are delivered efficiently and effectively in a cost-effective manner. This is very important. Government services have to be efficient to the citizens. Equally, the citizens have to experience effective or efficient government services. Government services to business has to be efficient. And the business has to ensure that what government is delivering in terms of services is efficient. Government to government services have equally to be efficient. This is what Smart Zambia ultimately will do for this country. And when we look at, for example, the Transforming Africa summits, behind those summits is, of course, the quest for information and communication technology to transform all the African countries. And this is exactly what we are doing in our country through Smart Zambia. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Honor the Vice President, wind up debate. Madam Chairperson, I just want to respond to a few honorable members who contributed to the Smart Zambia budget. On the issue of the mandate that Smart Zambia has not lived up to its mandate, Madam Chairperson, the Smart Zambia transformation agenda has promoted creation of innovative jobs using digital platforms, as evidenced
by the increase in the number of mobile money service providers, internet business centers, internet service providers, and over 100 ICT solution providers and vendors. The government shall continue promoting the dissemination of information for public and private media houses that are in good standing with the Independent Broadcasting Authority. Madam Chairperson, Smart Zambia has contributed a lot to...
Order, Your Honor. Unfortunately, it's time up. As the time is 16:55 hours, I interrupt committee work, and the committee work stands adjourned. The committee will report progress and ask leave to sit again. Mr. Speaker, I have to report to the House that the Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2021 to 31st December 2021 has considered Head 39, Smart Zambia Institute. The committee has made progress and asks leave to sit again.
Therefore, resumption of committee work.
Tomorrow, Mr. Speaker.
Committee work to resume tomorrow. The House. Is now adjourned.
You are watching Parliament TV, and the business of the House for today has just been concluded. And before we end our live broadcast for today, we have a look at what has been transacted on the floor of the House today. Julius.
All right, Thursday, the 29th of October, Pauline, we just had an item that is the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2019 rather, that came up for consideration at second reading stage, and the Honorable Mr. Speaker did make an announcement in guidance on how the bill, giving the background as to how the bill was restored following its lapsing when the Parliament was prorogued due to the abrupt adjournment of the House due to coronavirus, and through a motion it was restored back on the order paper and did guide how members of Parliament would debate, and then his guidance included that the members of Parliament who had already debated in the previous sitting of the House were not eligible to debate, and he gave opportunity now for debate to resume, and opened with debate from the Chief Whip, Honorable Brian Mundugire.
Yes, Julius, we also saw a number of members of Parliament, which included Minister of Chief and Traditional Affairs Honorable Lawrence Sichalwe, Chembe Member of Parliament Dr. Sebastian Kopulande, Chifunabuli Member of Parliament Mr. Ponde Mecha also added his voice to this bill, and we also saw Honorable Mr. Remember Mutale Chitambo Member of Parliament make a contribution. Minister of Livestock and Fisheries Professor Nkanduluo also contributed, and we also saw Nakonde Member of Parliament Mr. Izukanji Siwanzi also make a contribution, and others who contributed Sensho Banda, Kasenengwa yes,
who had quite a number of members of our parliament as well as cabinet ministers. We include Malambo member of our parliament, Mr. Makebi Zulu, Eastern Province Minister. We saw Honorable Stephen Kampiongo, Home Affairs Minister, also making his contribution. The Copper Belt Province Minister, Honorable Jafin Mwakalombe, also making his contribution. Chama South Member of Parliament, Mr. Darius Mungandu, did also contribute, as well as Kawe Central Member of our Parliament and the Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable Tutu Anguluve. We had Minister of Tourism and Art, Honorable Richard Chitotela, also making his contribution, as well as the Minister of Local Government, and that is Dr. Charles Banda.
Others were Minister of General Education, Honorable Wanchinga. We also saw the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Joseph Malanji, also add his voice to this bill that was before the House. Others also included Minister of Youth, Sport and Child Development, Honorable Emmanuel Mlenga. We also saw actually Senga Hill Member of Parliament, Dr. Kapemba Simbao, and Muchinga Member of Parliament, Mr. Howard Kunda, as well as Lubansenshi Member of Parliament, Mr. George Mwamba. And
not forgetting Mangango Member of Parliament,
Mangango Member of Parliament
also made his contribution. Right, and debate closed with winding up statement or message by the Honorable Minister of Justice, Honorable Given Luvinda, who is the sponsor and mover of this particular bill at first reading, and it was read the second time. At the time that it came up for it to be read the second time, a question was put, as it is a requirement through the instrument on the Constitution that 2/3 of members of a parliament, which represents 111 members of a parliament, should be for the bill for it to be read the second time. And guidance was also given by the Honorable Mr. Speaker as to how the House will proceed in voting, and the House used the electronic system to vote, that is the multimedia system in the chamber to vote, and at the end of the vote, the ayes, those who were for the bill, were 105. We had no no's, and we also had no abstention. So meaning the 105 fell short of the required threshold of 111, and the bill has since been negatived, and as such the bill has fallen away according to this announcement by the Honorable Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, so that's what we had on the Constitution of Zambia Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2019. Thereafter, the House resolved into Committee of Supply to consider estimates of revenue and expenditure, including capital and constitutional and statutory expenditure. And under consideration was head 39. This is a Smart Zambia Institute, and just before the business of the House was interrupted, Her Honor the Vice President was actually winding down head 39 Smart Zambia Institute, and we expect her to continue tomorrow morning when business resumes at 09 hours.
All right, so that is what we had for you for today. Business has closed, and under consideration is head 39, whose debate opened with Nalikwanda Member of Parliament, who was interrupted yesterday. That is Professor Jofule Lungwangwa, and Her Honor the Vice President is in the process of winding up debate on this particular head, and business has since closed until tomorrow. It's a Friday. Business resumes at 9 hours. Colleagues will be around to give you the idea of the business that you expect. Do join us tomorrow at 9 on Parliament Television, but between now and 17:30 we'll revert back to a normal programming. On behalf of the entire production team, on continuity, it's been Julius Musmali and Pauline Mwonga. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Introducing the My DSTV app, the easiest way to manage your DSTV account. Find out how many days you have left to view and check your outstanding balances all at a glance. Upgrade or downgrade your package and make instant payments all in one place. What's more, you can fix common error codes yourself quickly and easily, or click through to watch live TV on the go with DSTV Now. My DSTV. Download it from Google Play and App Store today.
Have you heard about My GoTV app, the new app from GoTV? With My GoTV app, viewing your account balance, changing packages, and fixing error codes can all be done conveniently on your phone wherever you are. Download My GoTV app from Google Play Store or the App Store and experience new levels of convenience. Yawa Mankanika, GoTV. Live it, love it.
On Know Your Constituency today, we profile Nyimba constituency, situated 320 kilometers east of Lusaka and 250 kilometers west of Chipata. It is located in the southern part of Eastern Province. The constituency was created in 1973, and according to the 2010 Census of Population and Housing, the total population of the constituency is more than 85,000 people, of which 43,000 are female and 41,000 are male. 77,359 are in the rural, while 7,666 are in the urban area. The majority of the people in Nyimba constituency are farmers. The constituency office is located at the Nyimba Council office along the Great East Road and was established in 2007 to facilitate the coordination of constituency activities. Since its birth as a constituency, Nyimba has seen 9 members of parliament, and Honorable Olipa Piri is the current area member of parliament. She now gives an account of members of parliament that have served under this constituency.
Before me there are 8 people, and these the first one was Sylvester Tembo. Then we had Aston Tembo, then Zirole Mumba, then Leonard Mkoloweka, the blind man. I think it is the only constituency whom we had a disabled person who is blind as an area member of parliament. Then we had the Chief Ndake, was also the member of parliament for Nyimba constituency. Then we had Chembe Nyangu. Then we had Roy Gray. Then after Roy Gray, we had Tembo. Then me.
The area member of parliament has been championing a lot of developmental activities to better the living standards of constituency.
We have various developmental projects in Nyimba. One of them is the Nyimba General Hospital, which is now under phase 2. And also we have secondary schools like Kacholola, and there is Rwembe. We are putting up a secondary school there. Then also we are doing roads, these feeder roads. There is a road from Chipembi to Totwe, and a road from Kavuma to Kapakasa, and also we have done some maternity annex in Vizimumba and also in Mwape Chiefdom. So these are part of the developmental projects which are going on now, and those health posts under 650, we benefited 6, and they are all under construction. Now in Nyimba we have 2 banks, which is Indo-Zambia and Building Society. And we have some lodges, there are about 5 in Nyimba. Nyimba being a district, we have a police station, and we have about 3 police posts. One in Kacholola, we have another one in Vizimumba, we have another one in Chipembi, and another one, about 4, another one in Chiveza. And we have an entry point in between Mozambique and Nyimba around the Chiveza ward. So that's where there is another security point there. Yeah.
The constituency is vast and border with Mozambique in the south, Luangwa district in the southwest, Petauke in the east, Serenje district in the north, and Luano district in the west.
Some of the challenges which they present to my office through my PA infrastructure problems, because the feeder roads are not in a good state, they're in a deplorable state. So I find that for us to have their harvest to come to town is a challenge. As a result, all the time they rush to my office just to present their problems. Another problem is the health post. You find that as you have looked at Nyimba, it's vast. Now if we talk of that, I was given 6 health posts, under 650 health posts. Now these 6 health posts, even if we put them, it's like a drop in an ocean. So also that is a challenge. And also we look at schools. There were people also, they want schools at least 5 kilometers from where they stay. If I can give a challenge like which is in Mwape right now, Mwape is more than 70 kilometers, but a child, it can go up to grade 7. But for that child to acquire secondary services, that child has to walk 70 kilometers to Nyimba Central just to go for a grade 8 class. As a result, it is one of the challenges. We need more schools, the feeder roads has to be done, the clinics, these health posts, we need more of them. So all these are the challenges which we are facing as the Nyimba constituency.
Being both rural and urban constituency, the area has seen a number of investments. Elena Maponda, a professional assistant at the Nyimba constituency office since 2007, explains her role, office establishment and various activities that take place at this office.
Is to facilitate the parliamentary work of the area member of parliament. The establishment of the office is 4. There's the professional assistant who is me, the administrative assistant, and 2 security guards. What I mean by facilitating the parliamentary work of the area member of parliament is to receive, since as you know, the area member of parliament is not always in the constituency, so the office receives complaints, issues, any problems that the constituents are going through, so that I report them to the area member of parliament to help her represent her constituents.
The creation of parliamentary constituency offices was a deliberate effort to ensure effective and direct accountability to the people by public representatives. Nyimba constituency office is a formal and politically neutral place where a member of parliament and constituency meet and discuss developmental issues.
My appeal to the people of Nyimba constituency is to make use of this office, because for the area member of parliament to represent them well at parliament or in parliament, they need to give her issues, they need to give her information that they need her to work on and to lobby for them on their behalf. So they really need to make use of this information, to make use of this office rather, so that as they come to the office, we also help the member of parliament to work and not just keep complaining that the MP doesn't work. And here we are, from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, we work.
The objective of establishing constituency offices in all the 156 constituencies in the country is critical for true representation, because it provides meeting places for members of parliament and the local people in that constituency.
The Zambia-Russia relationship dates back to 1964. Russia is among other countries that played a pivotal role in Zambia's liberation struggle. In order to enhance the Zambia-Russia parliamentary relations, the Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia, Right Honorable Justice Dr. Patrick Matibini, State Council, led a delegation to the Russia Federation in 2018 under the invitation of his counterpart, Mrs. Valentina Matvienko, Chairperson of the Federation Council of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, as a benchmarking visit, and also to exchange notes on best parliamentary practices. Honorable Speaker Matibini made a historical address to an extraordinary plenary session of the Russian Federal Council.
Уважаемая госпожа председатель, сейчас хочу вкратце рассказать этому высокому собранию о тех реформах, которые проводит Национальная ассамблея Замбии для обеспечения подотчетности, прозрачности, эффективности на всех уровнях государственного управления. Могу сказать, что на данный момент мы успешно провели ряд важных для нашего государства.
In a reciprocal visit, Chairperson of the Federation Council of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, Mrs. Valentina Matvienko, visited Zambia on 17th February 2020. The plane carrying Mrs. Matvienko touched down at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport at 19:15 hours Zambian time. On hand to receive Mrs. Matvienko was the clerk of the National Assembly of Zambia, Mrs. Cecilia Mbewe, Zambia's ambassador to Russia, Mr. Shadrach Luwita, Minister of Honor, Professor Nkanduluo, and some Zambian and Russian officials. A tight schedule awaited the chairperson. Her first assignment was to meet Republican President, His Excellency Mr. Edgar Lungu, at State House. President Lungu was delighted to meet the chairperson of the Federation Council of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation. He was optimistic that Mrs. Matvienko's visit would enhance the friendship and cooperation the two countries enjoy.
Russian Federation.
Наша спикер очень хорошо говорила о его поездке в Россию.
So he excited us about his trip.
И мы тоже были очень рады об этом и вашей приезде.
So we expect a lot from this visit in terms of building up on our friendship.
Мы ожидаем очень много для вашего визита, и мы хотим, чтобы наши отношения укрепились.
I remember meeting President Putin in South Africa on the side of the BRICS.
Я помню, когда я встретил президент Путин в Южной Африке, и у нас было маленькое собрание.
We talked a lot about the need to enhance our cooperation.
И мы говорили о том, что мы должны достигать наши отношения.
I also recall sending the Minister of Foreign Affairs to Sochi, the Russia-Africa Summit.
И я помню, и после этого наш министр иностранных дел тоже поехал в Сочи на саммит.
All this is now effort to cement this relationship.
Это все, что за то, что наши отношения достигли высоких целей.
But I believe that until our people begin visiting and cooperating at the level of people to people, our friendship cannot achieve much.
Я очень уверен, что если когда наши люди, вот российские замбийцы, будут относиться много, тогда мы достигнем много.
So that's why we're excited about this trip, Your Excellency.
И для этого мы очень рады за то, что вы приехали.
You're welcome.
And Mrs. Matvienko, who spoke through an interpreter, said Zambia has been a trusted partner for more than 50 years and that Russia is interested in fostering cooperation with Zambia in many areas.
Уважаемый господин президент, расширение сотрудничества России со странами Африки сегодня является одним из важных приоритетов внешней политики России.
Mr. President, the development of the cooperation between Russia and Africa is one of the main priorities of Russia's foreign policy.
беспрецедентным был предыдущий год, 2019, экономический форум, саммит Россия-Африка, который впервые прошел в таком масштабе, в котором участвовали все признанные ООН 54 государства африканского континента, большинство из них возглавляли первые лица государств, а также региональные африканские организации, включая Африканский союз, Африканский экспортно-импортный банк и, по сути, стал таким мощной платформой для дальнейшего продвижения и развития отношений между Россией и странами Африки.
Last year, 2019, was unprecedented for the Russia-African relations. We hosted the Russia-Africa Economic Forum as well as the Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi, which was attended by an unprecedented number of 54 African states, all the states recognized by the United Nations. The majority of them represented at the highest level of heads of state and government, as well as the regional organizations, including the African Union and the African Export-Import Bank. This event was a very strong impulse and it became a good platform for the further development of the Russia-African relations.
Деятельное участие в работе форума и саммита принимала делегация Замбии во главе с министром иностранных дел.
And the delegation of Zambia, led by the foreign minister, took a very active part in the work of the forum.
Для России Замбия всегда была и остается надежным проверенным партнером.
For Russia, Zambia has always been a very solid and trusted partner.
After meeting President Lungu, chairperson of the Federal Council of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, then paid a courtesy call on First Republican President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda at his residence.
Oh, Madam Speaker, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Your Excellency.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Mrs. Matvienko was excited to meet Dr. Kaunda, who she described as a distinguished leader. She applauded Dr. Kaunda's fight against colonialism in Africa.
В нашей стране знают вас как выдающегося государственного, политического, общественного деятеля.
Our country knows you as a distinguished state person, as a political and public activist of your country.
Который боролся с колониализмом, который боролся с апартеидом в Африке.
A person who fought against the colonialism, against the apartheid in Africa.
И вы стали первым президентом после обретения Замбии независимости, первым президентом молодой независимой республики.
And after your country achieved independence, you became the first president of a young and independent republic.
И первым всегда быть очень трудно.
It is very hard to be the first one.
И трудно переоценить тот огромный ваш вклад в создание фундамента государственного, политического устройства страны.
It is hard to overestimate the great contribution that you've made to the establishment of Zambia's statehood and the political system.
Именно вы заложили идеологию «Одна Замбия, один народ».
You laid down the foundations of the ideology One Zambia, One People.
И вашу мудрость подтвердило время.
And time has confirmed your wisdom.
And Dr. Kaunda hailed Russia for the role it played in supporting Zambia during the liberation struggle, stating that the relationship between Russia has continued to thrive since Zambia's independence.
The relationship between Zambia and Russia, which was established on 30th October 1964, almost 56 years ago, still greatly moves my self.
Я очень рад, что наши отношения, которые были установлены 30 октября 1964 года, еще, то есть 56 лет назад, еще укрепляется.
Russia has been very close to the history and events of Zambia.
Россия очень близко к нашей истории и нашей жизни в Замбии.
Notwithstanding the role Russia has played in supporting Zambia during the liberation struggles of the region, and we believed that it was not possible to be truly independent when the other countries in the region were oppressed by foreign powers.
Мы признаем роль, которую Россия играла в либерации страны в регионе Африки.
Your Excellency, the long-standing security cooperation between us continued even after the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991.
Ваше превосходство, наша кооперация, отношения уже должна существовать, даже когда Советского Союза распалась.
After the briefing, the two shared light moments.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Слушай, а рукопожатие? Сейчас рука отвалится. У вас такое сильное рукопожатие, что у молодых такого нет.
You have such a strong handshake, even the young people can't.
Больно.
Later in the day, the visiting chairperson was accorded an opportunity to address the National Assembly of Zambia.
Honorable members of Parliament, Her Excellency the Chairperson of the Federation Council of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, and Mr. Speaker.
Russia-Zambia relations for all this time have been constantly developing in a friendly, mutually respectable and trust-based manner. And this was once again confirmed at the meeting between Russia's President Vladimir Putin and Zambia's President Edgar Lungu in 2018. Distinguished colleagues, today relations between the Russian Federation and the African states have reached a new level. Our country, building on good history of cooperation, seeks to strengthen versatile partnership with the countries of the continent.
A bilateral meeting was later held between the Right Honorable Dr. Patrick Matibini and Her Excellency Mrs. Valentina Matvienko. In attendance were some Zambian members of parliament and members of the Russian Upper Senate. Honorable Dr. Matibini hopes Mrs. Matvienko's visit will enhance the Russia-Zambia parliamentary relations. The Zambian speaker also made a proposal for the formation of the Zambia Parliamentary Friendship Group.
As you indicated in your speech this afternoon to Parliament, both parliaments belong to the Interparliamentary Union, or as it's popularly known as the IPU.
Как вы говорили в вашей речи, обе парламенты, то есть российский и замбийский парламент, и член Союз парламента.
And as you know, this platform offers us an opportunity to exchange the best practices in upholding human rights, peace, security, and sovereignty of countries.
И как вы уже говорили, что быть членом это союз, она предпринимает в сфере суверенити мир и гуманитарное.
And our two countries have had opportunity to host these global meetings.
И нашей стране уже было, мы приняли эти митинги в наших странах.
Zambia hosted the 134th IPU Assembly in March 2016 here in Lusaka.
В марте 2006 году в Замбии была IPU собрание.
And your country hosted the 137th IPU Assembly in October 2017 in St. Petersburg.
И Россия тоже подвела митинг 2017 года в Санкт-Петербурге.
Be that as it may, I believe that your visit now provides us an opportunity to enhance our parliament cooperation.
Вот ваш визит, я понимаю, что это начало для укрепления наших парламентарных отношений.
Therefore, it is my hope that with your visit, we'll see more exchange visit between our respective parliamentarians.
Я очень уверен, что после этого будет многих таких визитов между нашими парламентами.
And to this end, I'd like to propose the formation of the Russia-Zambia Parliamentary Friendship Group.
И вот я хочу, чтобы мы начали Замбия, российская парламентарная группа.
And this will be a very useful platform, I believe, in exchanging the best practices between the two parliaments.
И это форум и группа, то есть это будет основание для нашего сотрудничества.
And in response, Mrs. Matvienko is hopeful that the trade and investment between the two countries will be intensified.
Мы в ходе визита убедились, что так же, как и Россия, Замбия